All right, this is the I.S.U.P.K Wednesday law class. Also, remember to check out Commanding General YAHANNA's radio show, which is 2 a.m. UK time, and there's called Black Watch. It's also on Saturday as well, 2 a.m. on Saturday. So just subscribe to the General's channel. The channel is called Black Watch. So if you subscribe to that, you'll have all the latest information in the news and everything. You have all of those things in the news. Also, there's classes here in the UK. Monday, we have you can come to the school in Birmingham, which is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's 7 p.m. till 9. We also have an online class Tuesday from London, 7 p.m. till 9. We have another online class Friday, 7 p.m. You can catch that one as well. We also have the radio show on the ends. You can watch that also. And today we're gonna go into a few scriptures, man. But also watch the news. You got what's his name, Prince Andrew, that they've got a legal case against him for what, man? Sexual assault, man. He's meant to be a prince, which lets you know, man, all this nonsense that the royal family's into, they ain't the real royals, man. And it's finally unraveling. Just watch the case how it unfolds. Now, people said that Prince Charles has chose to just ignore the charges, whereas we could never ignore charges, man. They'll never allow us to. They'd kick our doors down and take us away, man. Let's see if they do that with him. No, not Charles. It was Andrew. So luckily, Prince Andrew, what they like to call him. Obviously, he ain't no prince to us, but to Esau, that's one of their princes. That's one of their leaders. That's one of their top monarchs and so forth. That's the people who they worship and who they love to go and see and take pictures outside Buckingham Palace and all them things, man. Meanwhile, Prince Andrew's out there committing sexual assaults. But if anything, we'll go more into that on the on the ends on Friday. So we're going to start off in the book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. Also, any questions, just type them in and we'll get to them. So if you got any questions, just type them in and we'll get to your questions.
The book of Romans 15 and 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
So whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. So everything you see written in these records, we're supposed to learn from it, man. There's things in these records of what you should do and what you shouldn't do, of men who you should strive to be like, of men who you shouldn't strive to be like. So whatever was written aforetime for our learning of what to do in situations, of what not to do in situations. So you're supposed to learn from it, man. That's the whole point of you having these records. Now, by you having these records and not learning from nothing which is in them, there's no point in you even reading them, man. Because these records was written for our learning. So all these things that happened in the past, all these things which have been documented, later on, in times like this, we're supposed to read them and be like, okay, well, what do I do in this situation? And then the Bible's got the answers, man. It's written for our learning. Like, everything that we need in life is in this book, man. It's in this Bible. Every situation that we go through, every situation you need counsel on, everything you need is written in here, man. But obviously, you can't just hold this book and find it yourself. You need to come to the priests and prophets, man. And they'll break it down to you and let you know that your situation is in the Bible. Let you know what to do in certain situations. Because Christians have a Bible all day and they don't understand nothing, man. They ain't learning from nothing. Everything which is written in there, they disregard it. They tell you, oh, that's done away with now. Things that people died for, now they tell you, oh, it's done away with now. Whereas if they was applying it, they'd be like, okay, we shouldn't do this because why? These things happened. They would see Sodom and Gomorrah and fire and be like, okay, then, well, the LGBT community can't go on. Why? Because when there was an LGBT community, back in ancient times, the Lord rained down fire and brimstone. They're supposed to read that. Little Nas X and all these celebrities who swing that way are supposed to read this and be like, wow, These things is punishable by death. Them things is written for their learning, man. And if you're not learning from it, then obviously you're gonna have to die, man. That's how it goes. There's many things written in here, so you can learn from it. And if you're not learning, then there's gonna be a punishment which awaits you. Go ahead.
That we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
That we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope, man. And cause we know these scriptures, we know what a kingdom of heaven awaits us, man.
That's right.
We know we're gonna get a kingdom of heaven, so we patient, man. And it comforts us every day, knowing what we're gonna rule the earth one day, knowing we're gonna rule the earth. Now, people who don't know these scriptures and who don't learn from what's written, what do? They think they can go out there with weapons and take over the world. They think they can go out there with weapons and take over the world. Why? Because they ain't got no hope and they ain't got no patience. Why? Because they ain't read these scriptures, man. If they read these scriptures, they would have comfort knowing, okay, then I don't need to go do nothing out of the ordinary. Why? Because there's a kingdom which awaits us, man. And the Lord's going to give us in due time. They would know that, but because they don't learn from these scriptures or read them, they think the only way they're going to get power is by going out there with weapons and taking it, man. And then what happens when they get this power? What happens when they get this power? They still end up hating their brothers, man. They still end up joining everybody else's religion. Still end up joining everybody else's religion and following everybody's doctrine and whatnot. Like the other day, you know what? Maybe 2 days ago, a brother was speaking to me, telling me about Mansa Musa. Telling me Mansa Musa. I was like, yeah. So who's Mansa Musa? He started to tell me, yo, the richest king sitting on 400 billion. So I was like, oh, the same Mansa Musa that had 12,000 slaves. The same Mansa Musa that done a pilgrimage, went to Mecca and gave away gold to all the Arabs. He didn't give no black people no gold.
That's right.
All that gold he gave to the Arabs, man. On his journey, when he journeyed, they also went to Egypt. He spent so much gold in Egypt to mess up their currency, man. And listen, man, guess what? You're still poor. Listen, Mansa Musa was an Arab lover, man. Mansa Musa loved the Arabs. What he done is he went to Mecca, and when he came back from Mecca, when he went to Mecca, what did he do? He took some of them Arabs with him, man. He said to them, you can come and come and stay in Mali with me. Because he was the king of the Mali Empire. He was the king of the Mali Empire. So he goes, you can come and stay with me. He took these Arabs and treated them like royalty, man. Treated them like royalty. Meanwhile, the slaves that he forced to go to Mecca with him, most of them was dying in the sandstorm, man. While this man was, comfy in his caravan and camel and whatnot. All the slaves that had to do, I believe it took, was it 2 years to get there? It took like 2 years to get there. And people want to talk about, Mansa Musa. Listen, man, Mansa Musa don't care about our people, man. He don't care about our people. And why? How do you know? Listen, he conquered what? About 24, he conquered about 24 cities, man. Like when someone conquers a city, they don't conquer them cities to be nice to the people, man. He conquered them cities to make himself more rich and more rich. And he was trading what I believe it was gold and salt and everything else, man. I believe he traded so much that the white man wanted to rob him. I believe they wanted to go and rob him. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was the British or the Spanish. It was one of them. He traded so much they wanted to go rob him, man. When his fame got noised abroad, when he came back from Mecca, doing his pilgrimage. Listen, man, those kind of people have nothing to do with us. Nothing at all. Like what it is, like what our people do is they find some rich African, and then when they find the rich African, they try and be that rich African, man. Why don't our people want to be the poor Africans, man? Why don't our people ever want to be? Who's a poor African? Which Africans are poor now?
The Mandingo tribe in West Africa.
So why don't nobody want to be them? Nobody don't want to be them. You want to be the Mali Empire. You want to be Egyptian. You want to be the ones who are rich and swimming in wealth. Meanwhile, you ain't swimming in no wealth whatsoever, man. After I said all that to me, he goes, he's gone to me, you're just ignorant. He's like, you're just ignorant. I said, listen, man, When Mansa Musa had all that gold, he had all that gold. How come none of that fell in any of our hands? Didn't fall in our hands. He was giving it to Arabs, man. Just giving them gold. Just giving them gold, man. Why? Because he was an Arab lover. Why? Because he was Muslim, man. And that's what religion does. This is why we should join no religion. And Mansa Musa is not our people, first of all, but I'm saying for our people, we should join no religion. You know why? Because once you join a religion, you start to care more for the Arabs than you do your own people, man. You start to care more more for every other race other than your own people. Why? Because then if you're worshiping the God of the Arabs, then you're gonna begin to worship the people. And that's what happened with him, man. Even though he ain't our people, he worshipped the Arabs. Listen, so much that he even built a mosque. I believe the mosque's still there today. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. The mosque is there in Mali till this day. You know what I mean? You can look at that. But I got a statement online from Eskerin Littleton. They want to be the Zulus also, sir.
Yeah, exactly. They want to be the Zulus. They want to be, listen, they want to be whatever they think is great in Africa. That's who they want to be, man. And the thing is this, you see all these African nations that you love and respect, guess what? The white man don't respect not one of them, man. He hears that they got gold and money, and what does he do? He just goes there and robs them, man. Why? Because they can't tell him nothing. Like, you see, when it comes to all these nations on the earth, Esau bullies all of them, man. Every last one of them he bullies. He bullies them. He robs them. He takes their land, and they can't tell him nothing, man. You want to be You want to be these Hamites who's scared of Esau, man. Don't let them lie to you. Listen, they're scared of Esau, man. What do you think? What do you think happened when the British went to South Africa, man? When they went to South Africa, what was it called? The apartheid. Listen, man, the British went to South Africa, and now, even when you look in South Africa right now, where Esau lives on the left side, it's all rich and nice, and where the South Africans live on the right side, it's all broken down and disgusting, man. All the houses look zinc and like garbage. Why? Because Esau went there, man, and he's put certain laws there that he went there and he put certain laws there that you can only buy houses in certain places. You can only work in certain jobs. Even listen, it's the South Africans' land, and Esau said they need a pass to be able to work at certain places, man. I believe when hold on, how did it go? I believe when the Edomites left, the Dutch was still there. So when Esau left, the Dutch was still there, man, still ruling over them. And when you look at it, the only nations on this earth who really have any power is all the Edomite nations, man. Every last one of them, the Spanish, the Dutch, the British. What happens is when one of them discovers something, the other one comes and discovers it also. Imagine you've got all this land, so then the Spanish then see that it's nice, they occupy this part. You then say, okay, then you can have that part. You move to that part. The British see that. The British come and take that part, man. It's like, this is why we need to rule the earth, man. Because when we rule the earth, every nation is going to get their land. Every nation is going to get their land, man. They're going to be able, to do certain things, man. Now we're going to rule over them, but we ain't going to oppress the whole earth like Esau does, man. We ain't going to do certain things like kill the whole earth and steal your land and do this and do that. Obviously, this man, his nature is just to be a beast, man. Like when you just check out any regular history, you'll see that this man just devours everything, steals everything. And this is why anything you have, Esau hijacks it, man. Rap music. You must have seen that video with I don't know if she's a sister, I believe she is, when she was dancing on Ardi. You see her twerking on him. And that was so disgusting to see, man. That was so disgusting to see. I believe she's a sister twerking on a white man, at a party. And the reason she's doing that, why? Because she thinks that's going to help her career, man. Now, Ardi was invited to the Grime Daily party, man. A few other artists was there, but the big black artists wasn't there, man. The pioneers, I didn't see the pioneers of UK rap there. Why? Because once you let this man in the door, he just takes everything, man. Part of Paper was there talking about it's better than Nines, man. Saying he would spin nines in the verses. And this is what happens when you let them in the door, man. This is why we shouldn't let no oppressor through the door. Why? Because at first they take one thing, then two things, then before you know it, they take all of it, man. Same like your land, you teach them how to live on the land. What do they do? They come and take it, man. We need to let these things, we need to let history be a lesson, man. We need to let history be a lesson that we need to stay away from our oppressors, man. Because if we don't, they're just going to take everything and you're going to continue to be poor. You're going to continue to be at the bottom. You're going to continue to be oppressed. Why? Because you're letting this man in the door who takes everything, man, and leaves you with nothing. So, like everyone off topic a little bit, you can drop that. Give me Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 11. But just always remember, Mansa Musa is not our people, because people try and tell you that he is. People tell you Mansa Musa, man, West Africa ruled over all these what's it called? Listen, man, Mansa Musa. First of all, they wouldn't never let no nigger rule over Africa. Understand that part first. These Africans would never allow a nigger to rule over it, man. So first of all, Mansa Musa ain't one of us.
Ecclesiastes 1 and
11.
Ecclesiastes 1 and 11. There is no remembrance of former things.
There's no remembrance of former things. Go ahead.
Neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that shall come after.
Actually, read on.
I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem.
And now this is King Solomon talking, because he was king over Israel. Read on.
And I gave my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all things that are done under heaven.
So now Solomon searched out all things which was done under heaven, meaning Solomon looked around and said, all right, then let me just take a look at everything that's going on. Let me see what people's crazy about and things that people love so much. He searched out everything, man, seeing how people's living, what they're living for, what they love so much. He searched it all out. Go ahead.
This sore travail have God given to the sons of man to be exercised therewith.
Go ahead.
I have seen all the works that are done under the sun.
And under the sun is the earth. So he's seen all the works which is done under the sun. He's seen you working 4 jobs to get rich and, pay for a car. He's seen you writing all your rap lyrics, thinking you're going to be the next big rapper. He's seen all these things, man. Everything which is done under the sun. Seen what you work hard for, seen what you want in life, seen all of those things. Go ahead.
And behold, all is vanity.
All is what?
All is vanity.
And all the things that we chase is vanity, man. All the things that we love is vanity. All the drugs that we sell is worth nothing, man. Because why? You sell drugs for what? The latest car. And then you go jail for 10 years. And by the time you come out of jail, that car's old anyway, man. You're looking at the car like, I really sold that much drugs for this. I really sold that much drugs for all this stuff. And then you realize, damn, well, this is vanity. And most people realize out here is vanity when they're sitting in jail. Ask a man who's doing a life sentence, man. He will tell you, yo, if I had that chance again, man, I would just come out and keep my head down. I'll just come out and just stay away from all this drama and whatnot. All this gang culture and everything is worthless, man. It's worthless. And if you don't believe me, just look at the end results, man. Look at the end result. Every gangster they either go to jail for life or you see them on some documentary, man, telling someone else, oh, don't be in gangs. Don't do this. It's not worth it. Every last one of them, man. You don't ever see a gangster once he gets to a grown-up age still glorifying it, man. Because he realizes it was vanity and it was a waste of time. So what do they start doing? Speeches at youth clubs. They start going to schools. Why? Because they've grown up and they've realized all of that was vanity, man. They've realized the women that they've done it for. They realized the first time they went to jail, that woman cheated on them with somebody else that was meant to be a gangster. They realized that all that money they made and they left it with their friends. Their friends have sold the money and snaked them and whatnot. Listen, man, people realize that it's all vanity, and that's what Solomon's talking about right here, man. It's all. Go ahead.
Like, or they write books.
There
Like
you go.
they come out of a jail and they're broke, and they go, well, listen, all what I have got is this experience I've went through. So they then write some books as well.
See, they then write books, man, and that's true. They write books telling you what they've done in their life, why you shouldn't join gangs, because they realize that it's all vanity. Go ahead.
And vexation of spirit, that which is crooked cannot be made straight.
Listen, man, our oppressor's crooked, man, and he can't be made straight, man. You trying to straighten this man out, he can't be done, man. He's been made crooked. You saying, as long as they accept the truth, this man was made crooked, man. He can't accept the truth. He can't accept the truth, man. Because by him accepting the truth means he would have to accept that you're better than him, man. That you're gonna rule over him, that his people's gonna be enslaved to yours. They ain't gonna accept that, man. They ain't gonna accept that. And that's why when you look at places that let our oppressor in, they don't teach certain scriptures in the Bible, man. Why? Because they know that oppressor won't accept it. Because this man's made crooked and he can't accept it, man. And he ain't welcome in here. He ain't allowed in here, man. You know why? Because if you do let him in here, he's gonna colonize this place, man. Don't ever let no other race in, man. Because they're just gonna they will colonize the place, man. You'll be yet to see a black face, man. So we don't let nobody in this no Israelite. Go ahead.
And that which is wanting cannot be numbered.
Go ahead.
I communed with my own heart, saying, lo, I am come to great estate.
And that's Solomon talking. Who was what? The wisest man in the world at that time. Speaking of Solomon, everyone's always saying, "Oh, Mansa Musa was richer than Solomon, and Mansa Musa was this and that." Listen, man, what you gotta realize is the way wealth is measured is different, man. Like the way wealth is measured is different. All Mansa Musa had, what did he have? Just gold. Just gold. Mm-hmm.
You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, his empire was on the Gold Coast of Africa, hence gold. So where he ruled, there was lots of gold, but even in the Mali Empire, they're on the Gold Coast of Africa too. So he wasn't the only person that had gold. In their empire, they had it too.
And people make it like it's so rich, whereas how rich is Mansa Musa now, man? How rich is? I'm sure his empire got destroyed. Was it maybe a few years, maybe a few 10, 20, 30 years after he died or whatever? His empire got destroyed completely, man. That empire got destroyed, and it ain't rose up again since, man. Who even talks about that empire in 2021, man? No one talks about that empire. People saying, "Oh, you need to make films of Mansa Musa." We don't, man.
And also to those same Arabs that he loved, the Arabs had the Songhai Empire, and they stormed through West Africa with the Amaradov Empire. So they were both two empires, but they followed, different beliefs in the religion of Islam. And listen, they didn't care about none of those West African empires.
See? And everyone tells us we should be like Mansa Musa. You know what? I heard P. Diddy talking about his Mansa Musa. Listen, man. While it is we look at it like we got no role models to follow. So then we follow everything that we think is great. So then we think Mansa Musa is great. We think them Egyptian kings are great. And then we start to follow them and name ourselves after them when they have nothing to do with us. Read on.
And have gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before
So
me.
Solomon saying he's gotten more wisdom than all they that have been before him. So what Solomon had more wisdom than everybody that had been before him, man. The Lord gave Solomon wisdom, and Solomon was wise in situations, man. Solomon was wise in situations. He knew how to deal with deal with councils and so forth. He knew how to deal with all of those things. So much that what the Queen of Sheba came to speak to him, man, came to question him. She came to question him, man. Solomon answered all her questions, man. Every last one of them. You know, Mansa Musa couldn't do that.
In Jerusalem, yea, my heart had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I gave my heart to know wisdom.
Listen, man. Solomon wanted to know wisdom. Solomon wanted to search things out and look at things properly. And that's what we're doing here, man. We look at things properly. Like we'll say to a brother, so hold on, you're selling all them drugs to purchase that car over there. And they see it as, yeah, that's the dream, that's the goal. They see it as that's the goal. And then we're looking at them like, that's not no goal, man. They can't understand why what they're doing is so stupid. They can't understand that they're risking their freedom over something which is vanity, man. Like they ain't got the kind of wisdom that we have in here, man. So we see all these things, we be like, nah, don't do that. That's not worth it. So forth. We'll be like, don't do that. That's not a wise decision. That's not wise. That's not wise. Why? Because the Lord's blessed us with some wisdom, man.
If can add, years ago when I was really young, my dad said to me, "All the cars you like now, when you become a adult, all those cars gonna be in the junkyard, and you won't want any of them." And it's sad when, in that time when I was young, people sold weed, crack to buy those cars, and now you can't find any of them, man. All those Rovers back in the day, you can't find any of them. And imagine that people died over those cars. People, had gunfights over those cars, and now who even cares about them?
Right. That's true, man. You run up and down the whole earth committing criminal activities with these cars, which you can't find no more, man. You've been sitting in jail over that, especially phones. You know how much people used to get stabbed for their phone? For 33 10s and 62 30s. Imagine sitting in jail right now and someone asks what you're in jail for, or stabbed a man for 6230. That phone's old, man. You're still sitting in jail. Now there's iPhone 12 and everything out, man, which lets you know all these things is vanity, man. Understand this. What's new today is going to be old tomorrow, man. All of it is vanity. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth you risking your freedom and your life for garbage. Go ahead.
Experience of wisdom and knowledge. I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is vexation of spirit.
Go ahead.
For in much wisdom is much grief.
For in much wisdom is much grief. And usually, some people get wisdom by making the mistake. So you'll make a mistake and then you'll be like, okay, I shouldn't have done that. And then you get the grief. That's how you get the knowledge, man. Okay, I'm not going to do that again. That's how you get the knowledge mostly. Whereas now, you can be smart and get the knowledge from other people's mistakes, man. You don't need to make the mistake yourself now. Now there's the internet. You just look at everybody else's mistakes and you get the knowledge from their mistakes instead of you making the mistake to get the knowledge, man. Basically, in short, what this is saying is people learn the hard way. It's just near enough saying the same thing. Like that's like me saying to you, well, most people learn the hard way. Now, child support, most men learn about child support the hard way, man. Whereas you could learn from child support the easy way by seeing somebody else who's on child support and ask them, so how did you end up on this? And they're gonna say, I got with some woman that was no good. We had a baby together, and now she's put me on child support. So you can be like, well, what kind of woman was she? He can tell you she was in the club every single week. I met her in the club. She was a woman that was no good. And then you can be like, well, I'm a avoid those kind of women because I don't want to be on what you're on. I don't want to be on that child support that you're on, man. You can learn from somebody else's mistakes, whereas we don't need to learn the hard way, man. If we don't want to die certain ways, we can learn from brothers in the Bible, man. We can read what happened to them. I'm like, okay, then I don't want that to happen to me, so I'm not gonna do what he did. We don't need to learn the hard way. There's an easy way we can learn, man. There's a very easy way we can learn. Like we know that what smoking gives cancer. We can learn, be like, okay, then, well, smoking gives cancer. Maybe not straight away. Maybe after a few years. Like smoking is like slow suicide, man. Smoking is like slow suicide. You just never know when you're gonna get cancer from it or when you're gonna die from it, man. But you're killing yourself slowly. Now, some people can smoke for years and be fine. Some people can smoke for a year and get cancer. Who knows? But bottom line is, we ain't supposed to be smoking, man. You've seen what smoking does to people. Their skin loses that. Their skin even starts to look different, man. Their lips start to go black. You should see that and learn from them. And be like, wow, I don't want my lips to go black. I don't want my skin to look like that. So I'm not gonna smoke. You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to smoke and then learn 10 years down the line. I wish I didn't smoke because this happens all the time. Like, while it is with us as black people, we hard of hearing and we don't listen, and we think we above these punishments. We think we above these punishments of the Lord. Like we think, wow, that man got cancer, but I'm different. I'm not gonna get it. We think that man got caught drug dealing. That's just his unlucky, but usually I've been lucky for so long, so I'm not gonna get caught drug dealing. Listen, man, your day is gonna come. Your day is gonna come, man, because that's the mindset that we have. We don't want to learn from other people's mistakes. It has to happen to us for us to learn. We have to go jail a few times before we say, okay, maybe I'm not gonna do that no more. You realize, okay, then that you don't want to go to jail when you're on remand. When you're on remand awaiting sentence, that's when you realize drug dealing is wrong. That's when you realize being a criminal is wrong. When it's too late, man, when you're going to go before the judge and the judge is going to give you 10 to 12 years. And then now, in the UK, I don't have to do it in every other country, but in the UK, what they do is, let's say they've estimated that you've made 100 grand from drug dealing. What they will do is anything that you purchase, they repossess it, man. So you can't even live a normal life. You can't even live a normal life. You've been drug dealing so you can be rich and whatnot, and then they just put an order on you that any money that you make, they can take it, which means you can't even get a car. Why? Because they're gonna take it. You can't get a house. Why? Because they're gonna take it. Now, if you do want a car, guess what you have to do? Put it in somebody else's name, and you're in the world, so you can't trust no one. So you put in your car in their name. That's their car, man. You're driving it, and you've paid for it. But all they need to do is pick up the phone to the police. Yeah, my car's been taken without my consent. There's nothing you can do about it, man, because the car is in their name. It's not no good lifestyle to live, man. Like with Esau's got all the corners covered. You can make all this money, and then when he puts the order out, what will he do? He will take your car, take your clothes, your jewelry. He will even take your house. And then what they do is they sell your cars at auction, man. They have police auctions. So you will sell all these drugs to get a watch, which costs, let's say, about 20 grand. He will have it at a police auction for like 8 grand. And then somebody else just buys that watch for 8 grand, and you're sitting in jail, man. Listen, man, no word of a lie. You can look up these police auctions. This is where some people get their things from, man. They have decent price, good cars. They have decent price cars in there, man. Where they've knocked the price off. Read on.
And he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow.
He that what?
Increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow.
Listen, man. He that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow, man. Meaning, the more mistakes you make, and the knowledge you get from the mistakes you make, meaning, okay, then I shouldn't have done that. I made a mistake. It increases sorrow, man. Because you have to go through sorrow to get the knowledge of why you shouldn't have done that, man. Brothers have to do what? Go through sorrow to get the knowledge of why they shouldn't be running around with guns, man. Why they shouldn't be selling drugs. They have to go through that, man. Why? Because we choose not to learn from other people's mistakes. We have to make the mistake ourselves. Why? Because we're stubborn and we don't like to listen and so forth. Give me Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13.
Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
So now, after Solomon done all that searching, seeing what's out there, he goes, yo, let's hear the conclusion of the whole matter. So now he's going to let us hear the conclusion.
Fear God and keep his commandments.
Do what?
Fear God and keep his
This
commandments.
is the conclusion, man. Solomon seen all the nice cars, all the nice jewelry, all the nice women, and then he came to the conclusion, man. Why? That all these things is vanity. And his conclusion at the end, the best thing he found at the end was, read that one more time. This is the best thing Solomon found at the end.
Fear God and keep his commandments.
Listen, man, that's the only thing that brings you peace in life, man. No word of a lie. That's the only thing that keeps you stress-free, keeps you grounded, doesn't make you worry too much. Because what happens is, this is what happens, man. How do I know? I've been in the world. We've all been in the world. So when you're in the world, you worry about minor things. You worry about losing your job. You worry about the cares of the world. So that's what happens. You worry about the cares of the world and this. Everything's getting on top of you and so forth. And then when you come in the truth, you realize all these things is minor, man. You realize, okay, all these things is minor. It's not that serious. Like when you're in the world, you start watching all these Illuminati DVDs, man, and you're scared. You're scared. Oh, there's all these secret societies. There's all these secret societies, and they shape shift at night, and have meetings in the woods. They have meetings in the woods where they do rituals and the shape shift, and you start being scared of all of those things, man. Whereas when you come in the truth, you don't care about what white people's doing, man. You don't care. That's their business. When you come in the truth, you're at peace, man. You don't care about none of those things. When you're in the world, you start believing that people are clones. You start believing that the real one's hidden somewhere, and this one's a fake clone version. Like when you're not in the truth, your mind is open to believing everything, and all these conspiracy theories, you end up believing them, man. You believe every last one, every last conspiracy theory you believe. You believe that hell is a fiery place under the ground. You believe that the royal family shapeshift. You believe that the reptilians, you've heard that one before, that the reptilians and the shapeshift and they take on different forms. Listen, man, when you're not in the truth, all them things sound believable. You start to believe things like, oh, when you read something backwards, you read it into your soul. You heard that one as well?
Yeah.
If you put something in a mirror and read it backwards, you read it into your soul. You start to believe all of that nonsense, man. You start to believe these people that come up to you and give you these leaflets about give us some money and we'll get your lover back. All of this nonsense, man. Give us some money and we'll make your lover fall in love with you again. Listen, man. Listen, man. You come to the I.S.U.P.K and get counsel, man. Your lover will fall in love with you again in no time, man. We ain't gonna give you no cards and sit you in the dark with candles and stones in your hands and all this nonsense. People actually believe that, man. When you're not in the truth, you believe all of them things. Everything that they do in the world, you believe it. and it sounds so deep. Like, you know what? Just 2 days ago, on Monday actually, I was at my slave then. So there was a little white feather. One girl's like, oh my God, I needed a sign today. I was like, well, what do you mean? She's like, I needed a sign. I was like, what sign did you need? She goes, that feather right there, that's a sign. So there was a feather on the floor. She goes, that feather right there, that's a sign that my loved ones are saying they're watching over me. That's a sign that my loved ones are saying they're there for me. She's like, don't you believe in that? I said, that's garbage, man. I said, listen, man, our loved ones are dead and buried and probably reincarnated back on the earth by now, man. Probably babies somewhere. She's saying the watch that means the watching out for you when you see a little feather. When you're not in the truth, you start to believe that if you see a magpie, you need to see a next one, man. You start to believe that you can't walk through road signs on the road. You start to believe that you can't walk on the drain when you're not in the truth, man. You believe all of those crazy superstitious things. You start to believe that if you break a mirror, you're gonna have 7 years bad luck. You believe that okay, you breaking a mirror has 7 years bad luck. Listen, man, I broke a ton of mirrors, man, and I'm good, man. Why? Because I fear the Lord. I don't fear no mirror. I don't fear no road sign. I don't fear no drain and all that nonsense. People actually walk around it, and it's so sad that it's embedded in people so deep that they do it without even knowing what they're doing, man. Oh, I can't walk under the arch, it's bad luck. Listen, man, I've heard the next one. Don't cross people on the stairs. You heard that one? Don't cross people. That's an old Jamaican one. Don't cross people on the stairs. Listen, I'm gonna tell you an old one that my mom used to say. Like, say for instance, if one of my brothers was sitting on the floor and I stepped over them, she's like, "Don't step over them. That means they're not gonna grow." Listen, man, these Jamaican tales have to stop, man. This Jamaican folklore has to stop, man. All these stories is lies and it ain't true. But when you're not in the truth, you believe them, and then when you are in the truth, you start to realize, okay, all these things is garbage. When you're not in the truth, you believe the lights are flickering and it's ghosts why the lights are flickering. Change the light bulb, man. Maybe the light bulb needs changing, man. It's that simple. The light bulb will flicker before it's gonna blow, man. You do know light bulbs do blow after a while. You believe, there's someone. I can hear the wind. There's someone entering the house. It's just windy outside, man. That's all. It's just windy outside. But when you're not in the truth, you start to get scared of all these things. You hear something drop in the kitchen. You believe someone's in the kitchen. You believe your grandparents that were so loving, now they're in the house and now they're evil, and now they're haunting the house. All of this nonsense. Listen, man. If there's anyone that's living in a house which they believe is haunted, you sell it to me for cheap. I'll buy it. I'll use your naivety and I'll use your naivety and I'll buy it off you.
That's right.
Because the house is haunted, obviously you're afraid and you don't want to live there. So you sell it to me for cheap. I'll buy it and I'll live in the haunted house. Means as you're so afraid. Read on.
For this is the whole duty of man.
For this is the whole duty of man. Scroll up one verse.
Verse 12. And further by these, my son, be admonished of the making of many books.
Listen, man. Some people read too many books, man. You read all them horror books, man. You read all them paranormal activity books. Or you watch all them paranormal activity shows. Listen, man. Paranormal activity and all these shows, it's just, it's just a film, man. You watch all these things, Blair Witch. You watch all these movies, The Exorcist, so much that Christians believe that if they show anything their cross, they believe that if they just hold up their cross like this, that wards vampires and demons away. Not realizing Christians are demons that wear crosses, man. Listen, man, it's not hard. It's you're making everything more difficult than it needs to be. And that's what happens when you make many books and watch many movies and many documentaries from psychopaths telling you that I've seen this in the dark. The lights flicker at this time. There's a man that lives in the house downstairs. Well, it is that person smokes weed, man. You see, if you smoke weed, these things become normal. If you smoke weed, you start to, see stuff in your mind. And then people read too much books, paranormal activity books. They believe that walking into a spider web is what you walking into a ghost. That's the next one. They believe that if a spider web comes over you walk into a spider web. They believe that that's you walking into a ghost. and all this nonsense, man. They believe that when your loved ones die, they pass by the house and you must leave food out for them. Listen, man, you leave the food out for them. The food's still there tomorrow, man. The food is still there tomorrow. And that's what happens when you read many books and believe all this garbage that's been passed down to us. And this is why in the ISUPK, we breaking that cycle, man. Our children know all of these things is garbage. Our children know all of this nonsense is garbage. Like people believe that, oh, I dreamt about my grandparents. That means they visited me. No, man. Just means that those on your mind, man. Sometimes you dream about a celebrity. Do you think that celebrity cares about you to visit you? Do you think that celebrity? Do you think Tupac visited you in last? No, man. While it is, you had him on your mind before you went to sleep, probably because you was listening to whatnot, and that's all, man. People believe all this deja vu and whatnot, so forth. While it is, you think you've seen it before. That's all it is. Like you, like with deja vu, you swear blind that this happened before, when really it didn't, man. You've just something similar has maybe happened, and in your mind you're just thinking that's happened before, but it hasn't, man. All of this is lies. All of them things is lies as well. About when these children come back and they show you where they was buried in. Have you seen them shows as well?
Oh, yeah.
Where they show you where they was buried in their past life. They tell you how they died in their past life. Honestly, all of those things is just to make entertainment. It's entertainment. That's all it is, man. It's all entertainment. But the making of many books and you watching many paranormal DVDs. Listen, man, watching them Illuminati DVDs is the worst, man. Watching those things is the worst, man. People watch those and swear blind that they know something. Listen, man. People watch those and think they swear blind they know something about shapeshifters and reptilians and clones and people selling their soul to the devil. And listen, man, you selling your soul ain't what they tell you selling your soul is, man. You selling your soul is you just standing for something that you shouldn't be standing for, man. Like you trying to like you know it's wrong to be part of the LGBT community, but you do it to further your career. That's all it would be, man. It wouldn't be like what they make out it is. They make out like Beyonce's took something out of her chest and gave it to someone. People talking about Little Dirk sacrificed all his friends. No, man. Well, it is. There's young black men in Chicago that have guns, man. You're in a gang and everyone's got guns. That's all it is. All it is you're in Chicago and everyone's got guns and black men kill black men. That's all it is. It's not all this what people make out. But when you start reading many books and watching all these documentaries and all these things which tells you, whereas most of the books you read, it will tell you that it's a fable. It will tell you that it's not real, but you take it as gospel. Most of these documentaries you watch, it will tell you it's not a true story. It's acting. Like the Blair Witch Project is acting, man. It's acting. People swear blind it's real, but all it is acting, man. It's entertainment, and then you run with it, teach it to your kids, and then they're afraid of everything.
Okay. And what's heavy about that with the Blair Witch project as well? It was actually a joke. It was some kids, you know, they wanted to make a film, but their a budget was really low. That's why the film, if you look at it, it's not entertaining because they didn't have the money and that concept, and they turned it into a film where it's for writing made them billions from a joke, and their funds was low. That's the reality of it. There's nothing factual about it. It was kids that had a budget, and they made it work and made millions. Simple as that.
And people believe it till this day, like it's real life. Listen, man, you're scared of ghosts and all these things. What you should be scared of is what? The punishment of the Lord, man. That's what you should be scared of, man. Imagine we live in the ghetto, man, where black men are dropping dead, getting killed by the police, and we're scared of our grandpa that's been dead for years and now he lives in the loft. We're scared of our granddad walking around walking around the house at night. Meanwhile, we're walking around the neighborhood with police with guns, man. We should be more scared of that, man. We should be worrying about that Instead, we're worrying about ghosts and so forth, and the lights flickering on and off. What about that devil with that gun that's shooting us dead in the street, man? That's what we should be worrying about. You can drop that. Give me Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6. You're worrying about the wrong things, man.
Proverbs 22 and 6. Train up a child in the way he should go.
And the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. So we need to train our children, man, in the ways of the Lord, so they ain't afraid of everything, so they ain't following everything, so they ain't doing everything. And furthermore, the reason why we should train up our children in the way of the Lord is why? Because what happens when we die and whatnot, we coming back in our same families, man. We coming back in our close relatives, man. How about we teach them the truth? So by the time we come back on earth, we're born into the truth, man. How about we do that? So when we come back, we're born straight into the truth instead of teaching them garbage and then being born back to some mom that was taking crack during the pregnancy, taking all sorts of smoking weed during the pregnancy. Imagine you're in the womb, man, and you're hungry, and all you got is weed coming through the umbilical cord, man. All you got is Hennessy coming through the umbilical cord, man. That's no life for a child, man. You're a child in the womb, and you want food, man, because obviously what your mother eats, that's what you have. So you want to survive, and you got Hennessy coming through the umbilical cord, man. How about we train our children up right, man, and so forth. So why when our daughters grow up, they ain't drinking Hennessy while pregnant, they ain't doing all these things while pregnant, man. They ain't in every club while pregnant. Train them up right, man. So when they grow up, they bring you honor, man. People see you. Random people coming up to you on the street saying, "Yo, I applaud you for the way you've raised your kids, man. Your children ain't like everybody else's, man. Your children is good and righteous and deserve the Lord. That's what you want, man." Go ahead.
If I can chime in on that, this was years ago. Remember those Jamaican dancehall DVDs that are like, like White Wednesday and all that. And one of the DJs, he done a out to a woman, and she was pregnant in the club. And then it gets worse. She has other sons. She goes, this one here, I've got like 6. So what the hell are you doing here?
Right.
You know what I mean? And then now when he played the song, she got up and started dancing. Like, listen, as heavily pregnant as you are, you shouldn't be there, man.
Disgusting, man. And this is why whoever got her pregnant, man, you learn from his lesson. Don't get a woman like that not even pregnancy can stop her from being in the club, man. Learn from his lesson, man. Because that's disgusting. Now you don't want to be that father where everyone knows you because they know, oh, his daughter's a whore. You don't want to be that father where everyone's like, oh, him, oh, the one with the promiscuous daughter, oh, the one that sneaks money when he goes to work. Imagine this: you go to work, and obviously you know how the kids are smart nowadays. Just as you get older, you become less smart with technology. So you'll think, yeah, no one's coming in the house. Listen, man, them kids know how to disable them cameras and position them in a way where you won't even know that anyone's been in and whatnot, man. So now imagine you're a father that goes to work. You think, okay, yeah, my children are good, and as soon as you go to work, loads of different men is up in your house, man, with your daughter. Everybody knows it. The neighbors know it. The neighbors over the road are talking about it. Oh, his daughter, yeah, the man that she had around yesterday is different to the one that she had around last week. All the neighbors know it. Everybody knows it except you, man. You don't want to be that father, man, who has to find out one day and you're ashamed, man. You want to be the father who you've raised your kids right. So after, as they get older, you can kind of step back a little bit and give them a bit of leeway. Because they're not going to bring you to heaviness and embarrassment. You want to be that father where, you can kind of take a back seat for a bit because okay, my children are well behaved. You don't need to be in your old age stressed out about them, worrying thinking, have they made the terrible decision? You don't want to do that, man. You want to be at peace knowing if anything happens to me, everything that I've taught my children, they're going to, it's like I'm still alive because they're still living how I raised them. So the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go. Because if you don't train them up, the LGBT community will train them up, man. It will train them up. The drug dealers will train them up, man. Megan the Stallion will train them up. So if you don't train them up, just always remember this. If you don't train them up, someone else will train them up, man. Someone on the left-hand side will train them up, man. Someone who don't love them. Imagine you love them and you don't train them up in the ways of the Lord. And someone who don't love them, they're going to train them up in the ways of the white man, man. They're going to train them up in the ways of our oppressor, which is going to destroy them in the end, man. Which means what? Drugs, abusing their bodies, doing everything they're not supposed to do. So it's very important that we train them up, man. Go ahead.
And when he is old, he will not depart from it.
And what?
When he is old, he will not depart from it.
And when he is old, he will not depart from it. And listen, man. Now, my father wasn't in the truth, but there was just certain things that what he taught me, I'll never depart from it, man. Like growing up, pork was a no-no. Pork was a no-no so much that when my father wasn't there, pork was still a no-no. So much that one time they tried to give me pork in school. I was about 9, and I was saying, no, I don't eat pork. They were saying, yes, you do. And I refused to eat for that whole day. Why? Because my father trained me up in no pork. Imagine if we trained our children up in all these laws, and they was like that with all these laws. We would have a righteous nation, man. We would have a righteous nation because these kids would be brought up from the get-go righteous. They'll be trained from the get-go righteous. Go ahead. That's it on that. All right, we can drop that. Give me Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 1. So always remember, man, we're building the future. These young children is the future, man. We need to train them up in the way they should go. We need to teach them, man. Yo, every black man's your brother. Love one another. That's what we need to teach them, man. That way, if they do have any issues, a gun or a knife won't even pop in their mind. The most that will pop in their mind is we're just going to not speak for a bit, man. I'm just going to go this way, you go that way. But at the end of the day, everyone lives and everybody's happy. Whereas the things that we kill each other for is pointless. Like we kill each other over something so little. Like we think every argument has to end in death. Imagine, I'm just walking down the road. I see a black man and he's like, what you looking at? I say, what you looking at? And then he stabs me or I stab him over at what you looking at. Why do we have to kill each other over little things like that, man? When we could just, look at each other and then we don't have to say what you're looking at. You're looking at me, I'm looking at you. You can just say shalom. You can say shalom. You walk past, I walk past. We both go about our business. We don't need to stop and pull out weapons on each other. And that just shows that we ain't been trained in the right way, man. We've been trained up on these movies. We've been trained upon boys in the hood. We've been trained upon all this rap music. Now, listening to rap music's fine, but you do understand that all these rappers don't do what they rap about. Because if they did do what they rapped about, they would all be in jail, man. They would all be in jail. There wouldn't be millionaires somewhere, man. You're listening to these rappers thinking they're really... Listen, you listening to Biggie Smalls thinking he's really throwing people off the roof, and he's not, man. Or he would have been in jail. You're listening to all these rappers that rap about killing this man and that man. They're not doing that, man. Or they would be in jail. It's just, while it is the talented and what they rap about sells, and they're rapping about what they see and what they see in their neighborhood, they just rap about it, man. Now, you actually think these rappers is doing all these killings No, man, because they'll be going to jail, they'll be snitching on themselves. It's all a lie, man. But obviously, that's what we grow up on. So we listen to rap music about them talking about I shot him on the highway, this and that. And then we hear that and think, yo, I need to shoot him on the highway. So sometimes you need to be careful, man. Now, if you're not disciplined enough to just understand that music is just art, then maybe you should stop listening to it, man. If it's going to make you do some crazy stuff, then maybe you should stop listening to it. But at the end of the day, music is just art. That's all it is. It's art. It's poetry. That's all it is. It's nothing more than a movie. It's just a movie in the form of a poem and art. That's all it is, man. It's not real life. So you believe in all of this that these like rapping about you listening to Skelly Bang talking about the plane crash with the coke. Listen, man, it's art. It's art. Go ahead. Oh.
Nah, you know that.
So people listening to Skilly Bang about the plane crash with the coke, and you believing that he actually had a plane full of coke. It's just art. All it is art. That's all it is. Yeah, go.
Proverbs 13 and 1. A wise son heareth his father's instruction.
Now, are your kids going to listen to you all the time? Maybe not. But it says a wise son hears his father's instruction. So you will tell your kids all these things. You will tell them all these things, all these things, all these things. And then as they get older, it's their decision if they want to listen or not. But once they become a certain age, like near enough a grown man, they're going to do whatever they want. And they're in their mind, they don't need to listen to you no more. So it says a wise son hears his father's instructions. A wise son would learn from his father's mistakes. All the mistakes that a father makes, he would sit down with his son and say, yo, I made this mistake. I made that mistake. I didn't focus in school. I should have stayed in school and studied. I would have got a degree. And if I could go back, this and that. Then your son will hear that and be like, you know what? My dad said he messed up in school. I don't want to mess up in school because, I see how my dad ended up. Or you'll see that someone in your family is an alcoholic and you'll be like, you know what? I'm not going to drink excessively because I don't want to become that. I don't want to be that alcoholic of the family. I don't want to be that thief of the family. Listen, man. Every black and Hispanic man, just, look at your family members, man. Usually, there's that one uncle that's always trying to sell you stolen goods. And there's that auntie who's usually what? An alcoholic or whatnot, man. Most black families have those, man. Why? Because we're destroyed in this place. So you should look at family members and be like, that's not what I want to be. I'm going to learn from his mistakes. I'm going to learn from her mistakes. She drinks excessively so much that she's addicted to it. You learn from her mistakes. I'm not going to drink excessively, man. You see that your uncle's addicted to weed, man. You say, you know what? I'm not going to smoke weed because I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be drained like that. Learn from their mistakes, man. It says a wise son heareth his father's instructions. What your father tells you, listen to him, man, and obey him. If he's telling you to keep the laws of God, man, you listen to your father and obey him. Now, if your father's telling you to do stuff which goes against the Most High, then obviously you don't do that, man. Obviously, anyone telling you to go against the Most High, you don't do that. Why? Because that's a sin. So don't go against the Most High, man. It says a wise son heareth his father's instructions. Go ahead.
But a scorner heareth not rebuke.
And a scorner won't hear correction, man. You'll be correcting someone, don't do this, don't do that. Why? Because you're going to end up in jail. Listen, man. My mom used to tell me all the time, don't do that because you're going to end up getting arrested. You think, listen, I had to get arrested, man. I had to learn the hard way. And obviously, this is years ago. I'm talking when I was about 11, 12. This is years ago. So it says, a wise son heareth his father's instruction, man. Obey your parents, man. Listen to people wiser than yourself. People wiser than yourself give you counsel and say, don't do this, don't do this. Then don't do it, man. There's a reason why they're telling you not to do it. There's a reason why they're giving you this counsel, man. Read on.
A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence.
Listen, man, there you go, man. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence, man. And we've become transgressors in this place. And what do we experience, man? We die violent deaths, man. Our lifestyle is a violent lifestyle. Why? Because we transgressors, man. Read on.
He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life.
Sometimes you need to know when to shut your mouth, man. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life. Many people die. Why? Because they can't keep their mouth shut. Many people fall out with you. Why? Because you've got a big mouth, man. You want to chat everybody's business. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life. Not everyone's going to be forgiving and play games with you. Now, sometimes if you see a situation's, not too good, just keep your mouth shut. Don't be egging people on, telling them what, come over here, do this, do that. Plenty of people die. Why? Because they can't keep their mouth, man. They can't keep their mouth shut. They'll just keep yapping, yapping, yapping in everybody's business, running their mouth, threatening people on the phone. Listen, man. What we do as this is what we do as black people. We got an issue with the next black man. This is what we say. We say to him, yo, I'm going to get my gun and I'm coming back. Why are you saying that? You think he's not going to come prepared as well? Do you think he's not going to come prepared as well? We always do it. Yeah, stay here. Wait, I'm going to get my gun and I'm coming back. The Bible says, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, man. By you saying that, that man might just pull out his gun on the spot. Remember, you're going to get your gun. This man might have his gun right with him. He might have his right with him, man. Meanwhile, you're going to get your gun. Guess what? Nobody would have never known. Because it says, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, man. Go ahead.
It's like, if I can add on to that, it's an example. It was a cousin of mine years ago, back when the phones were like really big, like like the old Nokias and that. So where he lived, a guy that was allegedly a friend of his robbed the phone that he had. So my uncle, which is his dad, he spoke to him about the phone. He goes, so how do you know he took him the phone? Because no one really knew. And he explained why. And that guy is dumb. He can't keep his mouth. So now, you know what I mean? He called 999 and said, that individual, he stole the phone that is mine. Mm-hmm. Then now, when the police came up to him, they go, have you stole, the phone? He said, and. So, of course, they locked him up. So that's how they knew he stole the phone. He didn't say no. He's like, so have you stole such and such as a phone? He looked at them and goes, and then they locked him up.
Oh. He did. This is why, man, keep your mouth, man. Some people in the interviews, man, telling off the whole thing. Keep your mouth, man. It says, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that open wide his lips shall have destruction. And listen, man, sometimes you get yourself harmed. Why? Because you can't keep your mouth, man. Now, sometimes you don't need to say anything, man. You just, hold your corner and say nothing. Most people get into arguments, road rage, and traffic accidents. Why? Because they can't keep their mouth, man. Imagine you're on Instagram and you can't keep your mouth. You want to argue with everybody on the Instagram live. You do know one day you might see them in person, man. One day you might see them in person, and this person's going to remember everything you said on the internet. Whereas if you kept your mouth, this person will see you. They might not like you, but they won't say nothing because you ain't said nothing that offends them. Now, a man that can't keep his mouth just offends everybody, wants to go to war with everybody. He says, he that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life. Because you running your mouth could cost you your life, man. So you have to be careful what you spew out of your mouth, because it could cost you your life. And it's happened plenty of times before, man. So much times before, people run their mouth and put themselves in trouble, man. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I'm gonna get an example of that for you. If you're into like black Egyptology, history, and all that, a man called Tariq Nasheed. There's one guy, he was online talking about him bad. So the guy, he went to do a DJ Vlad interview, and with the brother Tariq Nasheed, he paid him a visit, and he was petrified. He wouldn't even stand up, and he was just sitting down, and he's telling him like, "Come on, man, stand up, man, stand." You know what I mean? And the guys wouldn't do it. So I'll get that for you in a second. So yeah, Tariq Nasheed, he confronted a Tommy Sir Otemeyer. So these two guys, they're both like YouTube stars, into Egyptology, Pan Africanism. So I'll get the video where he confronts him.
Tell me that he's black women.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, I'll explain the video as I screen share it. Right. So as you see the screen share, Tariq Nasheed, he's got the camera. So remember online with that guy Tommy Sotomayor, he didn't keep his mouth, man. So he paid him a visit. He found out where he was, and let's see what happened.
Is Tommy trying to avoid him?
Yeah, he's chatting shit online. That's DJ Black.
Was he gonna beat him up?
Nah, but he's petrified. That's it.
Coon Award. That's a troublemaker as well, man.
That's it.
Crispy.
And as you see right there, he didn't save his mouth, man. He was talking bad about him online and didn't at one point in his life think that I might see this guy. And he's not running his mouth now. So please, you know me, what are you talking about when you know what you're saying online? So that's
Listen, man. What's his name? How come he's calling him Crispy? Is that is just taking the piss? It's the thing, man. You keep your mouth, man, and you won't get in them situations. It happens all the time. Running your mouth can embarrass you, man. It can embarrass you, man. I was watching, I was watching. What was it the other day? The Ultimate Fighter. There was a brother on there. I don't know if you watched it. It's kind of flashy. He wears all the jewelry. I think this one was done. You call me and Stipe, an old one. He was saying is this and that. He was running his mouth about how great he is, and the white boy whooped him, man, and it made it worse. It made it worse. Why? Because he was running his mouth. Sometimes if you keep your mouth and you lose a fight, it's not that big of a deal. But when you make out you're the man and you're the hardest and you're this and you're that, it just makes it worse when something happens to you, when you lose and whatnot. Learn to keep your mouth, man. It will save your life. Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 11.
Proverbs 26 and 11. as a dog returneth to his vomit, so a fool returneth to his folly.
And listen, man, what you should learn from this is never leave the truth, man. That's what you should learn from this. As a dog returns to his vomit, like your vomit would be, vomit is sick. Now, all the things that you was doing before the truth is vomit, man. All that weed you're smoking is vomit. All them strip clubs you was going to is vomit, man. By you returning to that is like a dog returning to his vomit, man. You returning to that same sick, like you wouldn't go back and put your sick back in your mouth. You wouldn't do that. Why? Because it's disgusting. You returning back to what you was in the world is like you doing that, man. It's sick and disgusting. And what you should learn from people who leave the truth is you don't ever want to be like them. Because no word of a lie, people leave the truth and then you look at their life and their life is worse than it was before. They make out like they're having fun, but really they're not. Like they want to prove to they want to lie to you and make out like the world is so fun. Listen, man, if the world was so fun, why did you leave it in the first place, man? There's a reason why you left it in the first place because it wasn't a good place. That's why you left it. Like you don't leave something to go back to it. It makes no sense. People make out like yeah, the world's so great. If it was, you would have never left it, man. Like we said with Solomon, all of it is vanity. The whole solution is fear God and keep His commandments, because everything out there in the world is going to pass away anyway. Cars get old. Um, you lose your loved ones eventually. Everything you love, you no longer love it later in life. Everything rots. Your house becomes old. Your furniture becomes old. Your car becomes old. Whereas fearing God and keeping His commandments is going to be here forever and ever and ever and ever, man. That's why this is the only thing to do. Fear God and keep His commandments. Everything else you chase is temporary. Now, can you have nice things? Of course you can. But you need to understand that it's temporary and you should never put these things before the Most High. You should never put these things before keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Why? Because these things don't mean nothing. Imagine you sold all them drugs to buy a car, and then when your time comes and you have to go before the judgment seat, that car ain't with you when you go before the judgment seat. The Bible says what? You came into the world with nothing and you can't take nothing out, man. So when your time comes, all them drugs that you done sold, you're gonna have to answer for them on judgment day. But guess what? What you sold the drugs for the car and the women, they ain't gonna be with you. It's just gonna be you before the throne, man. So you better make a wise decision. Shot that give me Second Peter chapter 2 and verse 20. And also, any questions, just type them in.
2 Peter 2 and 20. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world
So it's for after they have escaped the pollutions of the world. Go ahead.
through the knowledge
Meaning, in the world is pollution. So you escape the pollutions of the world, meaning you escaped all of that disgusting lifestyle. Why? Because you had the knowledge of the Lord. So you escaped that lifestyle because you had the knowledge of the Lord. Go ahead.
of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. They are again entangled therein.
And you don't want to be entangled therein with what you left. You don't want to, the pollutions, you don't want to be entangled by them pollutions. You left those pollutions, behind. So now you don't want to be entangled with those pollutions. You don't want those pollutions to pull you back into the world, man. You don't want to backslide and go back into the world because there's a reason why you left it. Why? Because you realize nothing good comes out of it. You realize this all vanity and it doesn't mean nothing. That's why you left it in the first place. Go ahead.
And overcome.
You've overcame and entangled therein and overcome. Go ahead.
The latter end is worse with them than the beginning.
And now, once you're entangled with them and you leave the truth, because you've been dragged back by them entanglements and pollutions, your latter end is worse than in the beginning, man. Now, before you came into the truth, you was in a bad way. But now that you've left the truth, you're going to be in a worse way, man. Because you know better. So you're going to be in a worse way. It says the latter end is worse than the beginning. And how do I know this? Because I've seen people that leave the truth, man. And their latter end is always worse. They make out like they're so happy, but they're not. And give it time, and then you see them, and this person ain't even the same. This person don't even look the same. This person don't even behave the same. Because their latter end is worse than the beginning, man. Let this be a lesson to never ever leave the truth, man. Because your latter end will be worse. You should come in the truth and be in here for life, man. Why? Because Solomon said, there's nothing else better to do than fearing the Lord and keeping His commandments, man. Solomon said, the whole duty of man is to fear the Lord and keep His commandments. Some people think they're more special than they are, thinking, well, I've got a career. I can't be in the truth because my rap career is about to take off. Listen, man. If your rap career did take off, it's only temporary. Look how many rappers have come and gone, man. Look how many rappers have come and gone. And the people that fear the Lord and keep His commandments is still here keeping the Lord's commandments, man. Meanwhile, these rappers that had the high life, had the Bentleys and the Rolls Royces and the BMWs, where are they now, man? Their time comes to an end, man. Whereas keeping God's commandments and His statutes, there's no end to it, man. We're going to be doing this forever. We're going to be doing this now. We're going to be doing it in the kingdom. We're going to be doing it when we come back, and we're going to keep doing it. The whole duty of man is to fear God and keep His commandments. That's the whole duty, man. Your duty ain't really to get a rap career and be a stripper and do all of them things. That's what our oppressor tells you to do. Now, that's his duty. His duty of your life is to just, be born, nursery, school, college, uni, get a job, work your whole life up until you're 75, because retirement age is about what, 75? So now you work till you're 75, and listen, then you barely got 5 years left in you, and then you drop dead. Your whole life was spent doing what? Serving Esau. Your whole life was spent doing what? Living how the British want you to live. Being a good slave, working to die with hardly any money in the bank anyway. Listen, man, the whole duty of man is fear God and keep His commandments, man. That's what you rather do instead of living your whole life trying to serve Esau, trying to prove to him how British you can be. Because listen, man, he ain't gonna love you anyway. They just sent another charter flight back to Jamaica yesterday, man. They sent another charter flight back to Jamaica yesterday. There was a brother on that flight that came over here when he was about 7. He's about 50 something now. He said his father came over with the Windrush generation, and he was born here. So he was born here, and they sent him back, and he ain't got no family out there, nothing out there, man. And black people was you know what? Like I seen a black person actually say that I was reading the comments, and one of them actually said, "I can't wait to see the day this man is destroyed." And I was like, "Wow, damn! This sister, a sister said it." I was like, "Wow, damn! She needs to come to the I.S.U.P.K, man, because that's how we feel every single day." And she was so right for saying that, which lets you know that people who ain't even in the truth want this man removed out the way, man. People who ain't even in the truth is looking forward to a new government, man. Who is looking forward to a new rulership? Why? Because they know this man is disgusting, man. This man abuses his power. He abuses his power, man. How are you going to deport a man that's been here for over 50 years? Deporting him. Listen, man. Where's it meant to? Oh, and they said the flight's landing in Kingston. That's where the flight landed, in Kingston. I believe it was yesterday. It was yesterday or today it landed. Listen, man. This man is a beast. And this is why we should just fear God and keep His commandments. Now, if all of us as a nation feared God and kept His commandments, guess what would happen? These brothers would get sent back to Jamaica, and they would know, well, at least they know I'm not going to starve. At least they know I'm not going to be homeless. I don't know anybody, but every black man's my brother, and every black man knows I'm their brother. So they will understand, and they'll feed me, they will clothe me. But we ain't got that relationship with our people no more. If we did have that relationship, we wouldn't mind being deported to somewhere where we've never been before. We wouldn't mind being sent home and whatnot. But this man uses us, makes us come here, build his country, do everything for him, and then when they want you gone, they get you gone. Listen, England's got a history of removing people out of the country, man. England had a thing called penal colonies, man, where criminals, where they would send their criminals to Australia, man. That's how white people's in Australia till this day, man. That's how white people's in Australia till this day. Why? Because they had a thing called penal colonies, where if you was a criminal, usually a petty thief or whatever. Now, if you was a murderer or rapist, sometimes you'd go over there, or sometimes you'd get the death penalty. But what they done is went to Australia, killed most of the original Japhetic people who occupied Australia, and then they went there, and then they took over places like Sydney, and they took over places like Sydney, and turned it into a penal colony. They sent the first one when they went over there. They sent 11 ships over there. So then they sent settlers over there to live over there, and they also sent prisoners over there. So prisoners went over there. They done their time over there because why they wanted England to be a criminal-free country, and this is what they're doing with Jamaicans till this day, man. They still want England to be a criminal-free country. So what they would do in their penal colonies, they would send slaves to Australia. No, not slaves. Sorry, I mean prisoners, well, captives, criminals to Australia, and then afterwards, after these criminals served their time, they had a choice. They could either come back to England or settle in Australia. Now, because there was hardly any jobs in England, tons of people decided they wanted to go and live in Australia. So that's how white people got to Australia. So they went there, they multiplied. There was hardly any jobs in England. Most settlers then went to Australia. They then took over, near enough took over Australia. And then, like now, if you speak to most Australia, once upon a time in Australia, it was looked down upon to know that you had criminal history, whereas now they say that like 20 or 30% of Australians come from a criminal convict background, meaning their relatives was sent over from England to Australia to work in the penal to be a prisoner there. So now people love it now. So whenever you come up against an Australian and an Australian tells you, well, we ain't own slaves, you let them know really you're British, man. You let them Australians know really you're British and you're a criminal. And the reason you're Australian is why? Because your ancestors was criminals that got sent to Australia, and then there was some settlers there, and then they gave birth to you. That's how Australians became white, man. Also, in the early stages, man, Great Britain had 13 colonies in America, man. They also would send captives to America as well. This is history that you have to dig a little deep into. They would also send captives in the early stages. Prisoners was sent to America also. Why? Because England was looked at as the land of the Queen and a land which is so righteous, and they just couldn't have criminals there. But I read on before I go off topic too much.
For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness.
Listen, man, it would have been better for you to have not known the way of righteousness, man. Meaning you found the way of righteousness and then you've left it to go back to what's disgusting and what's frowned upon. It would have been better if you never came into the truth, man. It would have been better if you never even knew the way of righteousness. At least you would have an excuse. At least your excuse would be, well, I didn't know any better. But now you do know better, and you've gone back to all them things that you knew was wrong. Your latter end is going to be worse than the beginning. Go ahead.
Than after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandment.
Listen, man, that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to turn from these holy commandments. Like Solomon said, man, fear God and keep his commandments. That's all. That's what life's about, man. I should drop that. Give me Proverbs 24 and verse 16. I'll probably make this the last one.
Proverbs 24 and 16. For a just man falleth 7
It
times.
says a just man falleth 7 times, meaning a just man falls, man, but he gets back up. He don't leave the truth when he falls. He gets back up, man. He gets back up and gets back on board, picks up the phone for counsel. So lucky I need help with something. I'm struggling with something. I'm battling something. I'm trying to quit smoking, but I just keep picking up cigarettes again. He doesn't just quit and say, you know what, I can't beat it. Let me just forget the I.S.U.P.K. Let me just smoke all these drugs I want. What he does is he falls and he picks up the phone. He picks up the phone for counsel. What can I do to kick this habit? What can I do to get right and so forth? He does all of those things. Go ahead.
And riseth up.
So a righteous man falls, man, and it says that just like a just man falls, and he rises up again, man. Go ahead.
Up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief.
And mischief is like what? Trouble, man. It says the wicked shall fall into mischief. And listen, man, the wicked is always falling into mischief. That's why they're ending up in jail, ending up in the grave, ending up in horrible conditions, ending up in things that they shouldn't be ending up in, man. Why? Because the wicked shall fall into mischief. Go ahead.
Rejoice not when thine enemy falleth.
And we ain't supposed to rejoice when our enemy falls, man. So this is why when our enemies fall, we just be like, you know what? Lord be with them. Hopefully they get right. Even if you don't like someone, we ain't supposed to, want to see their fall. We'd rather them get right, man. We'd rather them get right instead of us glorifying their fall and being happy about it and whatnot. Like, we ain't happy about no black man dying or losing his way or going to jail for life, this and that. We ain't happy about them things, man. Why? Because we don't rejoice when our enemy falls. Go ahead.
And let not thine heart be glad when he stumbleth.
And listen, man, we shouldn't be glad when he stumbles. Like, yes, I'm glad that happened to him. We can't be like that, man. We can't be like, yes, I'm glad that happened to him. He deserved it. I'm glad, and be happy. We can't be going out for drinks because something bad's happened to him and whatnot. Go ahead.
Lest the Lord see it and it displease him.
Lest the Lord see it and it displeases the Lord, man. The Lord, like, when things happen, sometimes you have to show some integrity, man. Sometimes you have to show some decorum and be like, all right, I'm not gonna gloat in this brother's downfall, man. I'm not gonna laugh about this brother's bad situation. Show some integrity, man. And if you ain't got nothing nice to say, just don't say nothing, man. Just don't say nothing at all. But you ain't supposed to be happy and be gloating and so forth. Go ahead.
And he turneth away his wrath from him.
Listen, man, the Lord will turn his wrath on you, man. You displease the Lord, man. The Lord will turn his wrath on you, man. We can't gloat in our brothers' destructions and whatnot. Now we can advise them. I suggest you don't do that because you're gonna be destroyed. And then when they don't listen, then it's on them. And with that, that brings us to the end of the class. We'll be here tomorrow, 7 p.m. for the scripture breakdown class with Captain Parasha.
That was a powerful class. Let's give Officer Dungabar a hand first and foremost. We are the I.S.U.P.K. Started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. Ruled for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After the 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10, means tenth in the Hebrew, ma'ashra, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to Treasury Department of a teacher, priest fund, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocations is the Feast of Trumpets on Monday, the 6th of September at 394 Lodge Road, postcode B18 5PW. All Akim and Aqua, check the bulletin board in the hallway, and to check all ISUPK social media, so YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also Google My Business, which you can find us on a search engine. If you type in I.S.U.P.K UK or I.S.U.P.K Lodge Road, it will give you the directions. And if you've been to the school, please leave a review also as well. If anyone wants to become a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headbands, and scarves. And with that, we're gonna rise and face the east. And the Lord's Prayer, Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shemka, Yahweh, Malakwafka, Thaba'ah, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawor, Haya, Bashamayim, Nafunlanawa, Lakam, Kal, Yawam, Wasalaknawa, Kabawathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kabawafinawa, Wala'a, Thabayayanawa, Banasayawan, Abol, Hawashainawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwaf, Waha'ala, Wahathapara, La'aiwalamyam. Amen.
In the English, Our Father,
which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done
In earth,
in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily bread.
our daily bread,
Give us our debts,
and forgive us our
as
debts
we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our
And lead
debtors,
us not
and lead us not
into temptation,
into temptation,
but deliver us
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory forever. So be it. And with that, we're going to give the teacher one courtesy salute. Men of Israel, Amadim Shabbat. I'm Madiam Barak. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Barakatha.
Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shem Barakatha.
Yad Yamata. Class dismissed.